Hello and welcome to this open day where we will be presenting our different programs and our Department of Eastern Christian Studies. My name is Father Serafim Smensgård, and I am in charge of the PPP program and the Religious Educator program, which is a combination of two forms of education, which we're going to talk a little bit about. With us, we have Professor Grant White, who is in charge of the MA program in Eastern Christian Studies, and currently this year also in charge of the Bachelor's program. And then we have our Dean, Dr. Hjälm, who is head of the, not only head of the school, but head of the Department of Eastern Christian Studies and of the Eastern Christian Studies subject. So without further ado, thank you for joining us, either asynchronously or for those of us who may be joining live. This session is being recorded for your convenience. And if there's anything which you would like to know a bit more about, don't hesitate to get in touch with us via email. Most of the information is on our website, sanktignatios.org. But because we combine different forms of education, it may be there may be some things which you would like to explore a little bit more in detail. So at Sankt Ignatios, we have the privilege of working with two different forms of education. First of all, we have our accredited university programs and courses through our partnership with the ECTS, the Enskilda Högskolan Stockholm, formerly Stockholm School of Theology, where we have our BA programs, our MA programs, and our research subject. In Sweden, Scandinavia, and a few other countries, there is also a form of education which originated in the Scandinavian liberal adult education model called Folkhögskola. For those of you from Scandinavia, this may be familiar, but for those joining us from outside of Scandinavia, it would be worth mentioning something about this form of education. Folkhögskola and folkbildning is a form of education which emphasizes grassroots engagement. And it emerged as part of the people's movements in Scandinavia, which also were very important within different religious communities. And the emphasis within folkbildning is to provide forms of education which speak directly to the needs for grassroots movements to empower themselves through corporate learning. So it's a bottom-up model, but which now has a stable financing from the government to provide any institution or religious organization, any organization, the possibility to pool their resources and to create empowering forms of education and to actively participate in building democratic structures in civil society. Many different denominations and religious groups have used this to great advantage in Scandinavia and abroad. There's also a Folkhögskola movement in Tanzania based on the Swedish model. And it's been used effectively because of its potential to engage people in formational processes, where the focus is not so much on the acquisition of knowledge or fact, as it is in engaging in collegial forms of discussion and bringing forth knowledge in discussion and interpersonal relationships. Very formational. Some schools, some seminaries may feel a need to choose between a focus on formation within a particular tradition or a focus on a critical approach to theology. At St. Ignatius, we have the privilege of being able to combine the best of both worlds by providing rigorous academic formation, where we approach the sources of tradition from critical perspectives, using different approaches, objective approaches within the academy, encouraging and challenging our students, whether they be lay people interested in Eastern Christian studies as a subject, both believers and non-believers, or it be potential deacons, priests, or engaged lay people who seek to serve the church. We encourage them to take on the critical perspective with all the rigor entailed in the academy, but not at the expense of formation, since we can provide a complementary structure, which is distinct but unified within our two programs, the PPP program and the Religious Educator program, providing the possibility to also approach the sources of faith and questions of faith from the perspective of faith, from various perspectives of faith, and giving much more time and flexibility and freedom to really integrate the knowledge which one shares both through discussions and carried over from the academy, but integrated into the life of the seminarian or the participant. This is quite a unique approach to education, which we really believe in. Because it is so unique, it could take a little bit of explaining how we combine those two forms of education. We have two programs which fall under this framework, which is the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program, where the emphasis is on equipping servant leadership for the churches, both lay people and potential priests and deacons, with the tools of pedagogical leadership, where we see pedagogy as one of the main tools of all leadership, not just people who specifically are seeking to teach, but as a modality used within leadership in general. The PPP program has at its core the same academic courses as the Bachelor program in Eastern Christian Studies, but instead of running for 3 years as the Bachelor program, which Dr. Grant will be presenting, it's spaced out over 4 years to allow the same academic courses spaced out over 4 years to allow the interpolation of modules of a more formative character within the seminaries. And I will briefly show you an overview of that soon. But first I will mention also the Religious Educator, which follows the same basic principle, but which builds on the equivalent then of the master program combined with courses in pedagogical leadership. If you do the math, you'll see that it's quite an intensive program. For the master's program or the Religious Educator program, it's full-time study at the academy plus courses via the Folkhögskola. And in regards to the PPP program, the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program, for the first 2 years, it's half-time study at the academy and half-time study at the Folkhögskola. And then the second and third year of the equivalent of the Bachelor program, which is given as the third and fourth year of the Pastoral Pedagogical Program, you will be studying full-time at the academy and still have formational modules at the seminary. And for those who have the privilege of actually living in the seminary, this contributes to the integrated life experience of the seminary, where you're studying together, living together, sharing daily life together in an intensive environment of formation and learning. I will give you a brief overview of the modules you would expect via the Folkhögskola modality, these more formational courses. And then I will show you a table over the courses which are included in both the BA program and in the Pastoral Pedagogical Program. And then we'll transition over to Dr. Grant, who can go through those courses in a bit more detail and give you more information about the Bachelor program. Okay, So I'm going to switch over. Can I have confirmation that you see a table where it says theology, pastoral theology?
Yes.
Yes, yes. This is not a document intended to be published. It's kind of a working document. But just to give you a sense for the complementary courses in the formational courses, within the block, which we loosely categorize as theological courses, we have Introduction to Christian Faith in the first semester, books of the Bible and canons of the Bible, patristic exegesis, patristics, liturgics, ecclesiology, and missiology. And often these courses mirror, if not exactly at the same time, they mirror courses which are given in the Bachelor program, but the perspectives change. The focus in these courses are a discussion, the integration of knowledge, being able to grapple out loud together with others. There's less reading in these courses. We assume that most of the reading is done at the in the academic courses. These courses are not examined through the same modalities of the same kind of tests and so on. The focus is on participation, active participation, which is a hallmark of folkbildning, where we're not in competition with each other, and we don't get graded in these courses on an A to F scale or a percentage scale. It's either you participate or you haven't participated, which frees students up to actually take advantage of those sessions. And there's a lot of freedom also for the students to influence the direction that the discussions take. And what we've done this year is we've tried to pair them so that we had the ecclesiology course at EHS running parallel to the ecclesiology, the formational ecclesiology module, so that there would be overlap and the discussions would connect very much with the work being done at the academy. And it's been very fruitful, and it's something we're going to explore in going forward. Within the framework of pastoral theology, we have a robust progression over 4 modules, grounded in theological anthropology, philanthropy, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but this also runs over 2 years, portioned out to fit into the progression of the PPP program, the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program. There's a focus on pedagogics running from beginner to intermediate A, B, and advanced A, B, and also to come C and D. And here the programs diverge slightly. They overlap to a certain degree, the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program and the Religious Educator Program. But those studying the Religious Educator Program take a route where they study more advanced pedagogical leadership. Also, there is a focus on rhetoric and homiletics running throughout the program, which is very practical, learning the foundations of delivering homilies and then practicing the skill, so that by the time one finishes the program, one is ready for active service. And then we have a framework for church languages at slightly different levels of development right now, depending on the seminaries, but where the basic progression is the same, but the starting points could be slightly different. The GEES course and the Syriac course is currently at a level where we expect students, at least the Syriac course, we expect students who enroll in the PPP program, Pastoral Pedagogical Program, to already have a grounding in beginners Syriac. So they start their progression in the program slightly ahead of the other seminaries. And we currently offer Coptic, GEES, Syriac, and Greek. Have offered it within the program. When it comes to the Byzantine seminary, which encompasses both Slavic traditions and Greek traditions, it has depended a little bit on what students are currently enrolled. The focus has shifted sometimes between Church Slavonic and Greek. and we're flexible there to see what the enrollment is and how we can, what languages we offer. So the exact progression shown here is not set in stone there. We do not currently offer GEES or any of our languages as academic courses. So those who are interested in studying the languages would necessarily, at the moment, enroll via the Folkhögskola, which in practice means that you would need to be in Sweden to access those courses. It's not possible to study GEES as part of the university program. You would need to enroll and reside in Sweden to take those courses. And then we have listed practical liturgics listed here at the moment. Currently, each seminary is responsible for the liturgical formation within the seminary, and also in close collaboration with the local churches who are in collaboration with the seminaries. I will shift now to show you a table over the PPP, the Bachelor courses at the Academy, and just briefly mention how they relate to the PPP program before handing over the word to Grant to describe the progression of the courses in a little bit more detail. So here we have we have 4 columns. We have the Bachelor Year 1A and Year 1B, and then the Bachelor 2 and the Bachelor 3. And this is to be interpreted as follows. If you are studying the Bachelor, only the Bachelor, not as part of the PPP program, then you would be studying full-time. If you're studying full-time, then you would be doing these 2 columns concurrently, Bachelor Year 1, and 1A and 1B, and then move on to Year 2, the second year, and on to Year 3, the third year. If, however, you are enrolled in the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program, then you, during your first year, you would only be doing half of the courses as you're acclimatizing to the seminary, and you would have a robust battery of formational courses within the framework of the Folkhögskola and the seminary as a complement to this. Same goes for the second year, it's the same pace, but by the third year, you're studying full-time at the Academy, as well as studying at a somewhat reduced pace those formational courses at the seminary through the Folkhögskola. And the same goes for Year 3, where you can see that you also write your thesis. So with that said, I pass the word to Dr. Grant, and I can keep this up. Tell me if you want me to scroll, and you can tell us a little bit more about the program in its current form, and also moving forward.
All right, thank you very much, Father Serafim. I just want to clarify, you're very generous to me. I'm not a professor, at least at the moment. I'm a mere senior lecturer in Eastern Christian Studies. Don't say sorry, I appreciate that, but just for clarity for everyone. Hello again, and welcome to this presentation of our programs. It's really good to have you here, and I hope that by the time you finish with us today, you'll have an idea not only about what our programs contain, but also have a better idea of a response to the question, why should I come here to study? You know, there are lots of options in theological education today of various kinds, if you're Orthodox Christian as well. So why in the world would you come to Sankt Ignatios to study either the Pastoral-Pedagogical Program or for the BA or a BTH or a master's degree? And that's one of the things I really want to emphasize in talking today with you. Father Serafim has done a great job of talking through the content of our programs. I just want to say a bit more about the why, you know, what our educational aims are. And if you're looking for a institution of education that combines, as Father Serafim has said, both a rigorous academic approach and a formational approach that allows you to encounter your subjects from the perspective of how they affect you, you know, what they have to do with your life, your own formation as a Christian. then I think you should come here, to be honest with you. I know this is a biased thing to say, but here at Sankt Ignatios, we do combine those two approaches in a way that, in my experience at least, is unique. And so I just suggest that as one strong dimension to the education here worth considering. Second, which has been more in the background up until now, excuse me, in terms of our presentation, but that is, we are a uniquely pan-Orthodox institution. I intend no hyperbole in saying this, but there is no other Orthodox Christian institution of higher theological education anywhere in the world where you can encounter on a daily basis Orthodox Christians from a wide range of Orthodox traditions: Coptic, Syrian, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Tewahedo, Byzantine tradition Christians as well. And this is a rich mix that provides a wonderful learning atmosphere, because your courses are going to have people from all of these traditions in it. And so if you want to learn about what it means to be an Eastern Orthodox Christian today, in the world today, where we're at right now, this is, I don't think there's any better place to be. I just want to mention as well, Father Serafim correctly said that at the moment, you have to live in Sweden if you want to take the language courses. But I just want to emphasize that we're looking into ways of offering those courses in such a way that you don't have to be in Sweden. I can't promise anything at the moment, but that's also being looked at, since the languages of all these traditions are very important, obviously. So why? Why come here? Well, what the Bachelor of Theology program does is it not only gives you information, obviously, on tradition in scripture, in canon law, in liturgy, in church history, but you also get a thorough education in method. That is to say, we aren't just limiting education to feeding information to people, but rather what we want is to provide people with an education that allows them to think critically and independently about the different subjects that they're learning. And so not only do we have courses that give basic information from the first year on, but we gradually work in emphases on method, different methods for different subjects, and as well, an increasing focus on how to actually use this information. So knowledge, skills, and competence are topics, are areas of education that we stress here at Sankt Ignatios. So by the end of your education, by the time you get to the point where you're going to write your bachelor's thesis, you can bring all of that together into work, which allows you to continue on if you want, or to use your education in other ways in the world. And that emphasis here on critical thinking and method is something that, again, is, in my view, an outstanding part of this program. So if you're looking for a place to learn about Orthodox Christian traditions in a way that allows you to think critically about them, then, again, I hope that you'll consider us very, very strongly. About the individual courses, my own area is liturgy, and I don't want to speak too much to each course individually here, but simply to say, I think you can see by the titles of the courses themselves that we strive here to give you a thorough introduction to Orthodox Christianity. Christianities would be a better way to put it. Again, in a pan-Orthodox and indeed ecumenical environment, since we're part of the Stockholm School of Theology through the Department of Eastern Christian Studies. So again, I just want to emphasize, we offer an extremely rich educational setting, and it's up to you then, ultimately, to take advantage of it. But we're here to help. And I could say in all of the areas that we're talking about here, liturgy, ecclesiology, patristics, scripture studies, we have recognized world-class scholars and teachers teaching these subjects. So you're learning from top people, people whose names are in the news, people who you can say later on in your life, I studied with so-and-so. I know that's not a big deal to everybody, but it is to some, and understandably so. So our goal here is to offer you that kind of world-class, thorough, rigorous education. And I don't think I really have much more to add at this point about that, but simply to say, come here and see exactly what you can do with what we offer, together with the resources we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grant, Dr. White. Then we will move on to the master's program in Eastern Christian Studies. We offer 3 master's programs, but we'll be focusing on the Eastern Christian Studies subject here. And let's see, will Michael be presenting or Grant? Grant, the master's program, yes.
Very good. I'll do that then. Do you have another chart, Father, or shall I simply
no,
speak?
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't have it up yet.
Okay, no problem. What we're doing with the master's programs, and I stress programs in Eastern Christian Studies, is to provide the next level of education. You can think of it in terms of the European system of levels. You can think of it in terms of a progression in ability to do independent study and research. But however you look at it, the master's degree programs are intended to take you to the next level. And by that, I mean the next level in terms of encounter with sources, of learning about how to read and interpret critically the sources in each of the areas that we teach. Again, so that by the end of our 2-year master's degree program, what you have is a solid basis upon which to go yet further to do doctoral level work. Now, this is, as you can probably guess, I'm not from Sweden originally. I'm from the United States originally and received my doctorate from an American university, Notre Dame. And the system is slightly different in Sweden than it is where I grew up, in that the master's degree is seen as a degree with a higher level of independent work. And that's very important to realize. So what we ask when you come in and you apply to the master's programs, thank you, Michael, for this, that we expect a higher degree of preparation, so that already right at the bat, right off the bat, your courses involve an in-depth encounter with each subject that allows you to do increasingly independent reading and research. Not unguided, of course, because again, all of our faculty are here to do that. But our goal with the masters is to get you to the point where you can do that research essentially on your own. You're already on the way to becoming an independent scholar. Now, as I said, we've got master's degree programs, so not only the 2-year master's, but a 1-year master program as well. And this is an option for those who wish to pursue a subject, but might not necessarily want to go on for doctoral work. And so we offer that option as well, which also includes the possibility of a thesis. I mean, certainly the 2-year degree does require a thesis. So in both cases, what you get is that higher level of education beyond the bachelor's degree, the opportunity to learn how to research independently, and then with the 2-year degree to go on for the the doctorate and to apply for that if you wish. With the one-year master degree, and again, as an American, this was a new thing for me, to talk about what in Sweden is called the magister degree, or if you're coming from the States, it looks like magister. It's the degree that is the 60 credit 1-year program that is more analogous to 1-year master's degree programs that you'll see offered by American universities. These are programs designed to allow you to get an education at a higher level in a specified area, but not necessarily to go on then for the advanced level of research that a doctorate requires. So our goal here is to offer you the opportunity to look at what you want out of your education and decide which program is best for you. In both cases, you're still going to get a solid, rigorous education, not only in the subjects themselves, but in method. The various methodological approaches used in each discipline, as well as broader questions of research method that arise at this level in general. And so our master's degrees allow you to do that. And after your first year, if you decide you want to continue, that's a possibility too. So in the end, you've got some flexibility there, and you have a rigorous education for you in both cases. Now, I should say that in both the bachelor's and master's degree programs, there is the possibility for a completely online education. We're just starting a completely online bachelor's of theology degree this year. Already part of our bachelor's program is online, the first year, with the possibility of the third year online. And our master's degree programs, correct me if I'm wrong about Eastern Christian Studies, but they're also online programs, yes?
Yeah, it's a parallel. You can study it online, or you can study it as campus course.
Thank you.
Program.
So you have a lot of flexibility there as well. And I really want to emphasize that online option, simply because obviously it gives you more flexibility with an asynchronous approach to online learning, and still allows you the opportunity to work with the great scholars and teachers that we have here at Sankt Ignatios. So again, I invite you to look at our programs, go to our website, look at what we've got. And if you're considering a career in for example, an NGO that would involve knowledge of Eastern Christianities, this would be a fantastic option for you. Or, some other field of work in which this kind of knowledge is useful. So the last thing I'd want to say is don't limit yourselves to thinking necessarily, oh, I don't want to be a university professor. I don't want to be, a teacher or a theologian or a pastor of some kind. So this isn't for me. Far from it. Here at Sankt Ignatios, we're really interested in, concerned for the connections between the teaching of Eastern Christian studies and the wider world. And so our aim is to prepare people who have that rigorous background for lots of places of work in today's world. So thank you for listening. And like always, if you have questions and we might be able to help you, please write. We'd be happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. And I also just want to emphasize that the 2-year program, even in the 1-year master, but in the 2-year master, there is flexibility to select elective courses from our other master's programs. So some people have a hard time choosing which master program to take because they're all interesting, especially perhaps emerging fields. But there is a possibility to choose some of the courses which are included in those programs as part of the 1-year or 2-year masters. And also, just for clarification, while there is it could be a difference in emphasis in which of the two you choose, also the fact that some people may not have studied the master's level before and may not already consider themselves to be scholars. As I've understood it, correct me, Michael, if I'm wrong, but we do even have people applying for doctoral work after the one-year master. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't think that it's specifically limited there. It has to do with what background you have coming into such a program. Also, just to mention that we have a transitional program for those who already have a grounding in the humanities and who may have one or more degrees and want to transition into Eastern Christian Studies, which we offer, which is the pre-master program, which is a one-year program with a selection of courses from the Bachelor program, of the advanced courses within the Bachelor's program, which prepares you subject-wise. It gives you a grounding within the field to go on to study on the master's program. And also for applicants who may already have a degree in theology from another tradition, please do send your questions to us, as the requirements move on to the master's program in Eastern Christian Studies would be different from those coming from other humanities backgrounds lacking some kind of theological grounding. And we would need to look a little bit closer at what that degree entails. But normally it would be possible with the degree in theology to move straight onto the master's programs. So thank you so much for that presentation. And then I will leave the final word before I don't think we have any online participants at the moment. Otherwise, we're going to have a Q&A session. I will leave the final word to our Dean, Michael Hjälm, to speak a bit more broadly about Eastern Christian Studies subject and perhaps also a little bit the approach to the sources which we use in all of our programs and the logic behind that framing of the courses. So I leave the word to you, Michael.
Yes, and I'm happy to be here together with you. Eastern Christian Studies is about the Eastern way of projecting faith in the sources through history. And we divide it, according to tradition, in 4 sources. It's called Arat Aina in Ge'ez, or Arba Yun in Arabic, you use Arabic, which means 4 wells or 4 sources. First source is scriptures. Scriptures here means it's not just about the Bible as such, or the translations of Bibles, but the reception of the Bible, reception of the scriptures, the interpretation of the scriptures. The scriptures is like a horizon of a Christ event. It's like a drop of water that hits the surface of water and produces waves through history. But these waves, going back to the origin of these waves, that's what biblical studies is all about. But not the historical origin of the event, but the first understanding of Christian faith, the first idea, which is called gospel in the early Christian history, in the early church. But also to dismantle false beliefs or false understandings of what an early church meant, historically, scientifically, and scholarly. A second source is the church fathers, or church history. That's the evolvement of the earliest strata of faith into more complex patterns of thought systems, and worldviews. The church fathers are using the original background of Christian faith in order to encounter the world and the context where they are through each period of history. The third source is liturgy, or the liturgical sources we have. Liturgy is like a movable platform over history. It is a ever-present condition but where history becomes alive in the church room, where the ancient source sort of become vivified in the readings of the gospel, in the readings of epistles, in the recitations of the psalms, in the singings of the hymns, which has been produced through the echo of the churches for centuries and even millennia. And finally, the fourth source is the regulations and organization of the church. The result of encounter of each generation and each part of the universe, so to say, produces different responses to different problems. The church adapts to each context and adapts to the various conditions we find in the world, and the various conditions that history produces in relation to the church. We call these regulations canons. They are a bulwark of what we talk about when we say ecclesiological studies or canon law. These four sources, biblical studies, church fathers, liturgy, and the regulations of the church, together, combined together, they form what we call Eastern Christian studies. As scholars, we try to dismantle popular beliefs and instead try to critically investigate if it could be differently understood. And if it could be differently understood, why has our understanding of the sources changed through centuries and even millennia? Why is the same biblical text understood in one time differently from a later time, for example? Or how has various parts of it lately moved around? Is there a conscious purpose, or is there a structural thing that makes various parts of the liturgy move around? How could we understand the liturgy based on what we read among the church fathers? Why does the understanding of liturgy change through time? These questions seems to be superfluous in relation to what we are doing in the present moment. But history gives us the keys to understand both conflicts in the present, future conflicts, and also understanding our identity as humans, as Christians, as even as atheists sometimes. On the lower levels, on the Bachelor, for example, we get acquainted with the sources. We get to learn the various books of the Bible and how they have been developing both as an notation or hermeneutically, or how they have been produced or evolved as texts. And same with other sources, that we get to know their sources. On the master level, we try to dismantle the obvious shell of the sources, and we dig deeper into understanding various layers of the sources that was uncovered before we got to know them. Digging deeper into the sources means that we need to have methods and theories in order to understand how to unravel or unveil the sources, to understand the depth of the sources, to go deeper than the normal eye can see from the beginning. What we find on the mass level is a little bit of a hidden universe, a hidden world that actually is much broader and deeper than we understood before we started our journey as students or scholars. Finally, on the doctoral level, that's when we explain things that haven't been explained before, where we say things that haven't been said before, where we produce new things, new understandings, new horizons, which creates new waves on the surface of water, bringing us back to the original drop of water, what Christians call the Christ event, which we as scholars understand as an historical evolution through time that has changed the world as we see it now. And I hope that these four sources are something that thrills you and invites you to embrace studies in Eastern Christian Studies. So many thanks from the Department of Eastern Christian Studies, Sankt Ignatios College, and University College Stockholm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you, Grant, and all of those who are looking at this video asynchronously, wherever you may be. And we really hope that you get in touch with us and that you catch the bug and an interest, a budding interest in what we're doing here together and what is in store for you as you investigate this world of Eastern Christian studies. So please feel free to send your questions to us and also other stuff which you may find on our web pages. And if you have the opportunity, come and visit us physically at the school and get to know our staff in person and see what we're up to. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope that we'll be meeting some of you in the semester to come. And thank you also to Bojana for organizing these open days and for giving us the opportunity to speak and share, and for giving our potential students and partners and other people who may be interested the opportunity to lift the hood on what we're doing here and also to share it with others who may be interested. So thank you so much.